I came home early from a work trip. Flight got canceled, caught an earlier one, landed at 3 p.m. instead of midnight. I walked through my front door, duffel bag in hand, ready to surprise my wife. Instead, I got the surprise. There was a man on my couch. Not just any man. Kyle, her work friend, the one she'd been texting at all hours, the one she swore was just a colleague. He was wearing my bathrobe, drinking from my favorite mug, watching my TV, in my house. My wife, Rachel, came out of the kitchen holding 2 plates of food. She froze when she saw me. The color drained from her face so fast, I thought she might pass out. "Babe," she stammered, you're home early." Kyle didn't move, just sat there, my bathrobe hanging open, looking at me like I was the one who didn't belong. For about 5 seconds, nobody said anything. Then I smiled, set my bag down, walked past both of them into the kitchen, opened the fridge, grabbed a beer, came back to the living room, popped it open, and sat down in the recliner across from Kyle. "Don't let me interrupt," I said calmly. "You two were about to eat." Rachel's hands were shaking so hard the plates rattled. "Marcus, I can explain." "I'm sure you can," I said, taking a sip. "But first, Kyle, I've got a question for you." He blinked. "What?" I leaned forward. "How's your wife, Stephanie?" His face went white. "Because I've got her number right here," I said, pulling out my phone. "Thought I'd give her a call, see if she knows you're here." That's when Rachel started to panic. If you want to know what happened when I hit that call button, hit subscribe, because what came next didn't just end an affair, it ended 2 marriages and 3 careers. My name is Marcus Webb. I'm 38 years old, and I've been married to Rachel for 9 years. We met in college, Ohio State. I was studying engineering. She was in business school. We were the couple everyone envied. Traveled together, finished each other's sentences, had the same stupid inside jokes. We got married young, I was 29, she was 27, and bought a house in Westerville, a suburb just north of Columbus. White picket fence, 2-car garage, a backyard with a fire pit we used maybe twice a year. I worked as a project manager for a construction firm. Long hours, decent pay, steady work. Rachel worked in HR for a tech startup downtown. Flexible schedule, good benefits, a job she actually liked. On paper, we had it all. Except, somewhere along the way, the inside jokes stopped landing. The travel stopped happening. And the woman I married started looking at me like I was a roommate she tolerated instead of a husband she chose. The signs started about 8 months ago. Little things at first. She'd come home from work later than usual. Traffic, she'd say, or last-minute meeting. Her phone, which used to sit face up on the counter, was suddenly always face down. She started dressing nicer for work. New blouses, heels I'd never seen before. "You look great," I'd say. "Thanks," she'd reply, barely looking up. No kiss, no smile, just thanks. Then came the name, Kyle. "Kyle and I are working on a project together. Kyle suggested this great restaurant. Kyle thinks we should restructure the team. Kyle this, Kyle that." At first, I didn't think much of it. Work friends are normal. I had work friends. But then the texts started. Late at night, while we were watching TV, during dinner. Her phone would buzz, she'd glance at it, smile. "Who's that?" I'd ask. "Just work stuff." But work stuff doesn't make you smile like that. Work stuff doesn't make you get up from the couch at 10 p.m. and take a call in the garage. I'm not a jealous man, never have been. But I'm not blind either. One night, about 3 months ago, Rachel fell asleep on the couch. Her phone was on the coffee table, unlocked. I told myself not to look. I told myself to trust her. But that little voice in the back of my head, the one that had been whispering for weeks, finally got loud enough to listen to. I picked up the phone, opened her messages, and there it was, Kyle. Hundreds of messages, going back months. Can't stop thinking about last night.
When can I see you again? He's working late tomorrow. Come over. I scrolled back further. Photos, not explicit, but intimate. Her in a dress I'd never seen, him with his arm around her. A hotel receipt, forwarded in a text with a winky face. I sat there on the couch, my wife asleep 2 feet away, and felt my entire world tilt. Not anger, not yet. Just this cold, hollow realization that the woman I'd built a life with had been building a second one behind my back. I didn't confront her that night. I should have, most men would have, but I've learned something in my line of work. When you're dealing with a structural problem, you don't just start swinging a hammer. You assess, you plan, you make sure that when you act, the whole thing doesn't come down on your head. So I took screenshots, saved them to a cloud account she didn't have access to. Then I put her phone back exactly where I found it, and I started planning. The next morning, I called my buddy Jason. He's a private investigator, does mostly insurance fraud cases, but he owed me a favor. I need you to follow my wife, I told him. There was a pause. Marcus, you sure? I'm sure. What do you want me to find? Everything. Jason didn't ask questions after that, just said he'd start that week. 3 days later, he sent me a report. Photos of Rachel meeting Kyle at a coffee shop, holding hands across the table. Photos of them going into a hotel, the Marriott on Polaris Parkway, 2:17 p.m. on a Tuesday. Timestamp of them leaving, 5:43 p.m. Jason's notes were clinical. Subjects entered hotel together, exited 3 hours later. Subject 1, Rachel, adjusted clothing on exit, intimate contact observed.
I read it twice. Then I opened my laptop and started a new document. Plan. Here's what most men don't understand about catching a cheating spouse. Confronting them immediately feels good. It's cathartic. You get to yell, cry, throw things, demand answers. But it's also stupid. Because the second you confront them, they go into damage control mode. They delete messages, they coordinate stories, they lawyer up. You lose your advantage. So I didn't confront Rachel. I watched, I documented, I waited. And I started making moves she'd never see coming. First, I called a divorce attorney. Not just any attorney, the best one in Columbus. Her name was Linda Cartwright. She'd handled some high-profile cases, knew every trick in the book. I sat in her office and laid out everything, the texts, the photos, the timeline. "Do you want to try counseling?" she asked. "No." "You're sure?" "I'm sure." She nodded. "Then here's what we do." She walked me through it, step by step. Separate finances, open a new bank account, start redirecting my paycheck. Document every shared expense, every bill I paid, every dollar that went into our joint account. "Ohio is an equitable distribution state," she explained. "That means assets get divided fairly, not necessarily equally. If you can prove she was using marital funds to support the affair, that works in your favor." I took notes like I was in a lecture. "One more thing," Linda said. "Don't move out, even if it's uncomfortable. The second you leave the house, she can argue abandonment." "I'm not going anywhere," I said. "Good." Next, I started separating our finances. I opened a new checking account at a different bank, started having my paycheck deposited there. I kept contributing to our joint account, enough to cover my half of the bills, but nothing extra. Rachel didn't notice, or if she did, she didn't say anything. I also started keeping receipts. Every time I paid for groceries, gas, utilities, I documented it. Every time she used the joint account for something personal, dinners out, new clothes, that $200 spa day, I noted it. I wasn't trying to be petty. I was building a case. Because if this was going to court, I wanted the judge to see exactly who was holding this marriage together. I also did something else. I looked up Kyle. Turns out, Kyle Morrison wasn't just Rachel's co-worker. He was married.
His wife's name was Stephanie. They had 2 kids, lived in a nice house in Dublin. I found Stephanie on Facebook. Her page was public. Lots of photos of her kids, a few of her and Kyle at family events. She looked happy. She had no idea. I saved her contact info. Didn't reach out, not yet. But I knew that when the time came, Stephanie deserved to know what her husband was doing. And more importantly, I knew that Kyle's life was about to get a lot more complicated. For 2 months, I played the role of the oblivious husband. I went to work, came home, made dinner, watched TV. Rachel kept seeing Kyle, kept lying about where she was. "Girls' night," she'd say. "Late meeting," she'd claim. I'd nod, smile, say, "Have fun."
And the whole time, Jason was following her, documenting every lie. It was exhausting, pretending everything was fine while my marriage rotted from the inside. But I kept reminding myself, patience wins. Let her think she's getting away with it. Let her get comfortable. And then pull the rug out. The opportunity came sooner than I expected. I had a work trip scheduled, 3 days in Cleveland for a project site review. Rachel knew about it, had it marked on the calendar. The day before I was supposed to leave, she was practically giddy. "You'll be gone Wednesday through Friday?" she confirmed. "Yep." "Okay, I'll probably just have a quiet week, maybe catch up on some shows." "Sure you will," I thought. That night, I texted Jason, "She's going to have him over. I need you ready." He replied, "On it." Wednesday morning, I left for Cleveland, kissed Rachel goodbye, threw my bag in the truck. But I didn't go to Cleveland. I drove to a hotel 10 minutes away, checked in, and waited. Jason texted me updates throughout the day. 1:47 p.m., subject 2, Kyle, arrived at your residence. 2:03 p.m., subjects entered house together. 2:15 p.m., blinds closed in master bedroom. I stared at that last message for a long time. My bedroom, my house, my bed. The anger I'd been holding back for 2 months started to crack through, but I didn't move, not yet. I waited until 3 p.m. Then I checked out of the hotel, got in my truck, and drove home. I parked in the driveway. Kyle's car, a silver Audi, was parked on the street, not even trying to hide it. I grabbed my duffel bag from the back seat, took a breath, then I walked up to my front door and unlocked it. The house was quiet. I stepped inside, and there he was, Kyle, sitting on my couch, wearing my bathrobe, drinking from my favorite mug, the one that says "World's Okayest Husband," a gag gift from Rachel 3 Christmases ago. The TV was on, some cooking show. He looked comfortable, like he belonged there. I stood in the doorway, duffel bag in hand, and just stared. Kyle looked up, saw me, and froze. For a second, neither of us moved. Then Rachel came out of the kitchen, carrying 2 plates of food. She saw me, dropped the plates. They shattered on the hardwood floor, pasta and marinara sauce spraying everywhere. "Babe," she stammered, her voice shaking. You're home early." I didn't yell, didn't throw anything, didn't even raise my voice. I just set my bag down by the door, walked past both of them into the kitchen, opened the fridge, grabbed a beer, came back to the living room, popped it open, and sat down in the recliner across from Kyle. Rachel was still standing there, frozen, staring at the broken plates like they were a crime scene. Kyle hadn't moved, just sat there, my bathrobe hanging open, looking at me like a deer in headlights. I took a sip of my beer. "Don't let me interrupt," I said calmly. "You two were about to eat." Rachel's hands were shaking. "Mac, I can explain." "I'm sure you can, but first, Kyle, I've got a question for you." He swallowed hard. "What?" I leaned forward. "How's your wife, Stephanie?"
His face went white. "Because I've got her number right here," I said, pulling out my phone. "Thought I'd give her a call, see if she knows you're here." Kyle shot to his feet. "Wait!" "Wait,"
I repeated. Why? You weren't waiting when you were in my house, in my bathrobe, drinking from my mug. Rachel stepped forward. Marcus, please, don't do this. I looked at her, really looked at her. Don't do what, Rachel? Tell the truth? This isn't, she started. Isn't what? I interrupted. Isn't what it looks like? Because it looks like my wife's boyfriend is making himself at home while I'm supposed to be out of town. Kyle was backing toward the door. I should go. Yeah, I said. You should. He grabbed his clothes, jeans and a t-shirt draped over the arm of the couch, and bolted for the door. I didn't stop him. I just sat there, beer in hand, watching Rachel's world fall apart. After Kyle left, the house went silent. Rachel stood in the middle of the living room, surrounded by broken plates and spilled food, looking at me like she didn't recognize me. How long have you known? She finally asked. Long enough. Why didn't you say anything? I took another sip of beer, because I wanted to see how far you'd go. She flinched. Marcus! How long, Rachel? I asked. How long have you been sleeping with him? She didn't answer. 6 months? I pressed. A year? 8 months, she whispered. I nodded slowly. 8 months. And how many times did you do it in our bed? She looked away. How many times? I repeated, voice harder now. I don't know, she said quietly. Guess. Marcus, please. Guess. She closed her eyes. 10, maybe more. I set the beer down, stood up. Pack a bag, I said. What? Pack a bag. You're leaving. This is my house, too. Not anymore, I said. My lawyer will be in touch. Rachel didn't leave that night. She tried to argue, tried to explain, tried to cry her way out of it. I didn't engage. I just went upstairs, grabbed a blanket and pillow, and slept on the couch. The next morning, I called Linda. It's time, I said. You confronted her? Caught them in the act. Good. Do you have evidence? Photos, texts, witness statements, everything. Perfect. I'll file today. By noon, Rachel was served with divorce papers. By 5 p.m., she'd moved out. By the end of the week, Kyle's wife knew everything. I didn't call Stephanie right away. I wanted to, but Linda advised against it. Let the divorce process start first, she said. Then you can reach out. It'll be cleaner. So I waited. 1 week after Rachel moved out, I sent Stephanie a message on Facebook. Hi, Stephanie. You don't know me, but my name is Marcus Webb. I'm Rachel's husband. I think we need to talk. She responded within an hour. Is this about Kyle? Yes. I already know, she wrote. He told me everything last night. I stared at the screen. I'm filing for divorce, she added. I'm sorry you're going through this too.
We talked on the phone that night for 2 hours. She cried. I didn't. She told me Kyle had been cheating for years. Different women, different lies. I kept giving him chances, she said. I thought he'd change. They don't change, I said. No, she agreed. They don't. Before we hung up, she said something that stuck with me. Thank you for telling me. Most people wouldn't. You deserve to know. So did you. The divorce moved fast. Linda was ruthless. She presented the evidence, texts, photos, hotel receipts. She showed that Rachel had used marital funds to support the affair. Dinners, hotels, gifts for Kyle. She argued that Rachel had violated the marital contract through infidelity and financial misconduct. Rachel's lawyer tried to fight it, tried to argue that Ohio was a no-fault state, that the affair shouldn't impact asset division. Linda shut that down fast. Your client used marital funds to finance an extramarital relationship, she said. That's financial misconduct. It absolutely impacts distribution. The judge agreed. In the end, I got the house, my retirement accounts, my truck.
Rachel got her car and whatever she'd managed to save in her personal account. No alimony, no second chances. Just a clean break. Kyle didn't fare much better. Stephanie took him to the cleaners, got the house, primary custody of the kids, and a hefty child support payment. Kyle also lost his job. Turns out, sleeping with a coworker violated the company's ethics policy. HR launched an investigation. Both he and Rachel were fired within a month. I didn't feel bad for them. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I was sitting on my back porch, beer in hand, watching the sun set over the yard. The house was quiet, empty, but it didn't feel lonely. It felt clean, like I'd finally scrubbed out the rot and could start fresh. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Hi, Marcus. This is Stephanie. I know this is random, but I'm in town this weekend. Would you want to grab coffee?" I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed back, "Sure. Saturday work?" Perfect. We met at a small coffee shop in Westerville, neutral ground. Stephanie looked different than her Facebook photos. Tired, but stronger somehow. We talked for 3 hours. About the divorces, the lies, the process of rebuilding. "I don't trust anyone anymore," she admitted. "Me neither," I said. "Think that'll ever change?" "Maybe," I said, "with time." She smiled. "You're more optimistic than I am, or more naive." She laughed. It was a good sound. Before we left, she said, "Thank you for reaching out, for telling me the truth." "I did the same for you," I said. "Did I?" "You confirmed I wasn't crazy, that what I saw was real. That's worth something." She nodded. "It is." We didn't make plans to meet again, but we exchanged numbers. And as I drove home, I realized something. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't hurt. I was just free.
A year later, I sold the house. Too many memories, too many ghosts. I bought a smaller place closer to work, a condo with a view of the Scioto River. Fresh start, clean slate. Stephanie and I stayed in touch. Coffee turned into dinners, dinners turned into something more. We took it slow. Both of us were guarded. Both of us had been burned. But there was something there, something honest. "I never thought I'd trust anyone again," she told me one night. "Me neither," I said. "But I trust you." "Why?" "Because you didn't have to tell me the truth. You could have just walked away. But you didn't." I thought about that. You deserved to know. So did you. People ask me if I regret how I handled it. Walking in, staying calm, not losing my mind. The answer is no, because losing control would have given Rachel power. It would have made me the bad guy, the angry husband, the one who couldn't handle the truth. Instead, I stayed calm, documented everything, let the facts speak for themselves. And in the end, I walked away with my dignity intact. That's worth more than any house, any car, any amount of money. If you've ever walked into a room and had your world turned upside down, this one's for you. If you've ever had to choose between rage and clarity, between reaction and strategy, you know what I'm talking about. The best revenge isn't losing your mind. It's keeping it. Comment, "I stayed calm," if this hit home. Hit subscribe for more stories about the quiet power of self-control. Because the moment you walk in and find them on your couch, you have 2 choices. Explode and give them ammunition, or smile, grab a beer and let them panic. I chose the beer, and I've never looked back.